This is Missy Zacharias, the principal at the primary school here in Robinson, and I'm going to share some ways that you can help your child finish kinder strong, some keys to kinder. So this is just a funny video on how to help about helping your child with homework. So if you want to watch that at your leisure, that would be great. This is grit and growth mindset. You will hear us talk a whole lot about grit and using that grit, and we have the Grit Squad and we have Grit Squad All-Stars. This is a super important concept for me and for helping children, reach their full potential because they are striving to tackle those hard things. They're not giving up when something is tough. So we really want to foster that, and there's a book called Mindset by Carol Dweck that I highly recommend. It's an older one that's been out for a little while, but I highly recommend reading that. But you can do some simple things at home to help your child with grit, and you can talk about their day. And instead of asking, things that were easy, talk about what was difficult today. Did you make any mistakes? Because we make mistakes and we learn from those mistakes. And that's a really important way, because you can model that too. If I don't do something right the first time, I'm going to try again, and eventually I'll get it right. And I learned something from all of those mistakes. So it's great to talk about those things. Also, praise the process. Wow, you must have worked hard today. Don't praise for accomplishing things quickly. So when you see a child and they finish something really quickly and you've said something like, "Oh, you're so smart, you finished that so quick." So what happens when they don't finish quick? They feel like they aren't smart. So it's very important to praise that process, because we want them tackling hard things. School's hard. We want them to tackle hard things, and we want them to know that it's awesome that they worked all day trying to accomplish whatever it was that they were accomplished. So praise that process. And remember to tell them that your brain can grow, that their brain is like a muscle. It's like a muscle in your arm, your leg, or however you want to explain it. But the more that you work your muscle in your brain, the harder you work the muscle in the brain, then you can get better at certain things. So you're not in a fixed mindset, which means I'm not good at math, so I'll never be good at math. That's not a correct statement. If you work hard at math, then you can get good at math. So those are things that we want to really instill in our children's brains, is that they can learn things that are hard as long as they put the effort and sustain that effort. Also, help your child with his or her dialogue. If your child says this is too hard, have them say, "Yeah, it's hard right now, but you don't know because you don't know it yet. But pretty soon, with hard work and perseverance, you can learn how to do it." Like riding a bike, or any of those skills that they want to learn how to do, throwing a football, they work hard at. We want them to work hard at all things, and school things especially, because those are the things that can help them learn. Encourage failure. Children can learn a lot from failures. If they get up and try again, they learn how to persevere through those hard things. They learn what to do differently. So as you fail at things, you go, "Oh, well, I'm not going to ride the scooter that way next time, because that makes me fall off of it." Or whatever it may be that you're trying to learn how to do. You learn a lot from those failures. So, kindergarten reading expectations. There's quite a bit of expectations. We've got phonics, vocabulary, fluency, independent reading, comprehension skills. That means knowing what they've read, making personal connections, using text evidence, retelling main events, beginning, middle, and end, using new vocabulary, multiple genres, fairy tales, character traits, author's purpose. I think just the last couple of weeks they worked on author's purpose. Why is the author writing this story? Is it an informational text? Is it to entertain? Writing. So we're really wanting these kindergartners to just naturally want to write things down. So it's real important to encourage that at home as well. And then inquiry and research. We also do something that's called the BAS level. We level our kindergartners at the middle of the year. And so at the middle of kindergarten, so in January, they should have been at about an A. So this is where they need to be as they get toward the end of the year. We want them to a C. So your teacher probably has shared some of that information. If you don't have that information, you can always ask your teacher where your student is on that reading level. Kindergartners and expectations, the assessment expectations, we typically do this in a one-on-one situation or kind of a small group, or we take data as they're working on something. Because in kindergarten, we're not just passing them out, which you would consider in a higher grade level where they just pass out a test or they do a test on a computer. We do a lot of things that we're either sharing something with them and having them create something for us and watching and then assessing that. But typically it's done in either small group or a one-on-one situation. Here's an example of an assessment. This was Unit 4. Good readers see pictures in their head or visualize as they read. Which picture might a reader see that matches the words in the sentence? So there would be a picture there, and it said, Sophie is a fluffy brown dog. She likes to sniff many things. She sniffs the green grass. Sophie sniffs the hot steak. Sophie sniffs the big skunk. So there would be a picture that would show those things, and the child would have to listen to what was read to them and then pick the picture that talks about that picture, or pick the words that talk about that picture. Here's another example. We do a lot with vocabulary. So even at home, if you guys are in the car or at home, stop and think about words that you think your kindergartner may not know. So for instance, the man was enormous and he stood very tall. What does enormous mean? Well, first of all, if they don't know what enormous means, we have them, let's read the whole sentence. What do you think enormous means from reading the sentence? Which that's those context clues. But there's a lot that you can do with vocabulary. And just as you read books with your student, make sure they know all those words. Have them explain those words to you. Have them so that you know that they understand those words. Here's another example of assessments that your kindergartner will take. So look at the cover of the book, and then open the book and look at the first few pages. What do you predict the book is about, and how do you know? So it's also important, this how do you know, and that's kind of going back and finding text evidence. So if you predict that the book is going to be about cats and dogs that, go on an adventure, what in the story or what in the pictures or what has told you, what is giving you the idea that that's what this book is going to be about. So they don't just come up with something off the wall, that they actually look and they tell you that, oh, it looks like on this page that they're, by water, or they're, in the mountains, or whatever it may be. That's why I decided that they were going on an adventure. So any time that they can justify or tell you more about why they chose that as their prediction or their answer, that is great. And then when they're writing, we have them draw a picture or story of your favorite thing to do. So the picture would have details. They can label the picture. They can write a sentence about the picture, point to the capital letter in your sentences, and point to the period in your sentences. So that's an example of what they're expected to be able to do during Unit 3 and Unit 5. So reading at home, how can you help? I showed you some of the assessments. How can you help your child at home? So the purpose, when you want to read at home, if you're wanting to try to build fluency, comprehension, word solving, or a love for reading, then you want to be able to sit next to your child so that you can see the words and that so you can see the illustrations. And when they come to some kind of word that they're having trouble, it's really very important to let them have that productive struggle. We don't want to save them too quickly. So if an error is made, you want to have them wait, give them a chance to work it out. And then if they don't work it out and they keep going, then you might want to have them come back and say, try that again. Let's look at the first word, the first letter in this word, and have them use some strategies to still try to figure out. So you want to kind of support them a little bit, and then to have them really understand that sometimes it's not going to come that easy. Sometimes they have to work through that. And then to praise the effort, you use the first letter, you check the picture. So that specific praise that I've talked about before in some meetings before, very specific praise, not just you did a great job, but what did you do a great job on? You did a great job for using the first letter, and you checked the picture, and you tried more than one strategy. So very specific praise of what they did that helped them understand what that word was. Also with comprehension, there's lots that you can do with comprehension. Ask questions that invite recall and thinking. So why do you think that happened? What I alluded to earlier is how do you know? So you want to support with text evidence. What do you think blank means? And add how do you know? and urge rereading to build comprehension as needed. And fluency. And fluency means the way that you're reading, the quickness, the pace. So model expressive reading and have your child echo read. So you could do one page and then they echo how you read that. You think about back when when your child was a baby, and you would go, oh, and you would make your voice in different ways, and that your child would imitate or repeat. That's a great way in reading is you want to really model that, because like I've said also in other meetings, and are that you are the best model for your child, because they will listen to what you say, yes, some, but they are going to be watching what you do and trying to imitate you a whole lot. So make sure that you model those, because that's a great way to get them to be reading with expression and pausing at sentences and adding punctuation marks in. Compliment your students. Specific praise is very important. Let them know what you saw that was excellent. Use the first letter to check the picture. I love how you're thinking about what you were reading and making connections. You sounded just like the character would sound. So think of something that you can really praise them about, that you want them to continue doing. Before and during reading. So what story clues are in the title and then pictures? What is the genre? So is it fiction, nonfiction, poetry, drama, etc.? How do you know, and why do you want to read this story? So those are all some great questions to ask before you start even reading the story. And then what do you think will happen next? That's a great one. How do you feel about the main character? Would you do things differently if you were the main character? Does the story text make sense to you? How do you think the story will end? Is the author trying to teach you something? So those are all great things to be asking as you're reading the story. And after you're reading, you're not done. There's lots you can do after you're done reading. But how did the story make you feel? What did you like or dislike? What were you wondering? Does the book make you think of any other books? A lot of times it's great the way that we remember things. A lot of times is we make a connection with something like, oh, I remember this because there was always a white car, or whatever connection you make. So have them think about other stories that they've read that are like that book. What was your favorite part? And don't forget add the evidence to the story. That's a great way. Like, you think this because we're in the story. Did you see that? Reading and writing, we want students to notice the way writers or authors are crafting their books. So like informational text will use headings, they'll use bold letters, they'll have glossaries. So there's lots of different ways that they're writing to get whatever they want to get across to the reader. So we want to just go ahead and when you're reading a story, go, oh, well, look what the author did. They made speech bubbles here, or they made this bold, so that you would look at it closer. So when we're talking about writing, we want to write name with a capital letter only at the beginning, develop, revise, and edit compositions, use capitalizations and punctuation marks, letter sound patterns to spell, and we're doing that right now. The kindergartners are spelling lots of CVC words, so that's a great place to start. Use proper spacing, shared publish writing, which includes typing. So they will be typing as they get older. So that's something else that you can talk about too. So, and when I say publish, that means a finished product that they can kind of share. All right. Here is an example of a writing performance assessment that the kindergartners actually do. So you think about a topic, they choose a topic they want to write about. They either draw a picture or write a sentence. They determine how they want to organize their ideas. They determine if they need any text, print, or graphic features. They share their draft with a partner and discuss any questions. They revise the draft. They share their writing with the teacher or another adult. And some of this is with adult assistance, but they are doing an awful lot with writing. And we want writing to be something fun and natural for them. So we do a lot of writing. We're writing to respond to something, like they're responding to a book they read, not just writing for no reason. So they're doing lots of different ways that they're writing. Responding to literature. This is about what I was just talking about too. If students are reading a passage or a book, they're usually able to respond to questions about what they've read and using text evidence to support their response. So if they read the Three Little Pigs story, Who do you think the smartest pig is? Well, obviously we kind of think the third pig is the smartest, but if they have evidence to support another answer with another story, then you need to say, okay, well, you think the second pig is the smartest. What makes you think that? What in the story tells you that? So that they can go back in the story and support their answers. And our ultimate goal is to get them to be able to write their responses. However, of course, the first step is to get them to orally. So at home, orally is great because that at least gets them talking and responding. Phonics, that's the way that we teach them how to read and how to sound out words. This is a very explicit program that we use pre-K through third, and it's called Foundations. You've probably seen them tap out words or information has been going home. But it has really made a difference in us being able to teach explicitly those rules of the English language. And this is a lot of words on this slide, but it kind of tells you all of the things that they do. We have trick words that they're supposed to be working at home. The worm line, grass line, plain line, skyline. If you want some of those kind of papers, we can tell you how to get that kind of paper so that your student can learn to write those words that way. Reinforces phonics rules, tapping, letter sound knowledge. So this is all going on during that Foundations 30-minute time. And these, and you can stop it here if you want to look through all these, this is what they're doing on a daily basis. So Unit 1 are all of these things that they worked on. Math, 0, lots. There's about 3 or 4 pages, I think, here of all the expectations that they're supposed to do. So when you're looking through this, look at each one of these. These are the TEKS for the state of Texas. And when you look through here, you find lots of things that you can do in everyday math. And like I have said before, when you are with your student, modeling is your best bet to get your student excited about learning math. So if you go home and say, oh gosh, math is terrible. I used to hate math. I hate math. What is your child going to pick up on? They're not going to like math either. So think about math in a different way. And even when you're at the table at dinner or you guys are out to eat, we used to do all kinds of fun math games when we were even just at the table, and we would say like, okay, I have, how many do I have now? I'm taking 2 away, and I'd have them close their eyes, and then I'd have them decide how many chips or whatever I had at the dinner table I took away. So if you can play some fun games with math, I think that would be super helpful, and just always talking about math in a very positive way. But as you're reading through these, they do lots of addition, subtraction, classifying 3-digit, counting, comparing objects, 2-dimensional shapes, lots of things that they're working on. Using data to create real object pictographs, draw conclusions from pictographs. So lots of things. Coins, they're naming pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters, identifying ways to earn income, differentiating between money received as income and money received as gifts. So lots of things they've talked about that are important ways that you can help your child at home is to go through all of these things as well. Here's some math assessments. There are 8 ladybugs on the stump, 2 ladybugs fly away. How many ladybugs are left? Which number is missing? And here's an example of a performance assessment that they would do. Create a concrete model to represent the solution to the problem, record the solution to each problem. So that would be something like Marissa was picking flowers. She picked 2 yellow flowers and 6 pink flowers. How many flowers did Marissa pick all together? So those word problems that they'll have to think about, not just 2 + 6 =, but they'd have to either decide whether it's an addition problem, it's a subtraction problem, what's the missing number. So there's lots of different ways to practice those. There's also a kindergarten newsletter that comes home weekly. So if you guys make sure that you look at that, because there's lots of things on this that are very helpful. So when you think, I don't know how to help my child at home, or they don't really have homework, oh, they do. They have lots of things that they could work on every single day that could very easily become a great routine for you and your family to do each night. So think about those things when you're at the dinner table or before dinner or before they go to bed, just making some kind of routine where you can work on those things that they have put on the newsletter. The resources, we use iStation, Reading A to Z. Those are all things that you can log into at home. So if you are not able to do that, please contact your teacher. And that is it for Keys to Kinder. Obviously, your teacher is a great resource. So if you have questions, you can go to her and ask her any of those questions. And thank you so much for joining us.